StrayAllDay.com.
You're now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day, to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. That is, go get an energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques all underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is the standards of a professional. Funny thing that about what got me to thinking about this topic and where it came from, and I'll share that with you right here. I was looking at the weather forecast here in South Florida, at least the day that I came up with these notes, but it doesn't matter what day it is, because usually in South Florida, the weather forecast looks pretty similar to what I'm going to describe to you here. But I was looking at the weather forecast over the next 7 days, and I was happy, not because of the high temperatures. What made me happy was looking at the low temperatures, because I often will be doing a workout outside, such as running outside, and I often look at the weather the night before to see, all right, how am I going to have to dress myself when I'm running outside the following morning. And I was happy because the low temperature, not the high temperature, but the low temperature in South Florida every day for the next 10 days was no lower than 70 degrees. As a matter of fact, as I'm looking at the 10-day forecast right now today, when I'm recording this, not the day you're listening, but it's probably the same. In South Florida, next 10 days, let me just read you the low temperature. That means, everybody knows what that means, right? The lowest is going to be all day. 71, 71, 73, 72, 71, 74, 74, 73, 74, 73. I like that. All right. That's the kind of weather that I like. That's the reason why I moved to South Florida. Is the reason why I ain't leaving South Florida unless the weather changes. All right. I like it like that. I want the low to be in the 70s, meaning I never need to put on a jacket or a hoodie ever. The only jacket I wear is this suit jacket that I'm wearing right now. And it's not even how high the highs are, it's how high the lows are. That's what I like. Notice, did you catch what I said there? How high the lows are. Keep that concept in mind as we move on here in my introduction. It doesn't get cold down here. All right, what most of you consider cold, we don't get it. I don't even like when the weather's in the 60s, just to be honest with you. If it's in the 60s, that's still a little borderline for me. I like 70s and up. Even as a person who wears a suit every day, I'll take the being hot over being cold. Rather this than have to wear a trench coat because it's cold outside. And thinking about that, what got me thinking next was about how professionals are at what they are, and that's one of the reasons. How professionals become what they are and how they do what they do is because of what I just explained about the weather. How high the lows are. Okay? How high their version of a low actually is when you're a true professional at what you do. That's what I'm going to explain here in my points today. Point number one, topic once again is the standards of a professional. Number one, your low is higher than everybody else's high. You're a true pro at what you do. Your low is higher than everybody else's high. The professional's bad day is better than the amateur's best day. The professional's bad day is better than the amateur's best day. That's your baseline standard of performance. As I explained to you in the intro, what I love about South Florida is that our winter weather is better than some places' summer weather. And by better, I mean it's warmer and more humid. That's what I mean when I say better. I like warm, humid weather. Uncomfortably humid, I will accept that. I'll take it. Now, this may seem like a high bar to set for yourself, and I will not disagree with that. It is a high bar. Those of you listening to this, whatever you're a professional at, your bad day should be better than an amateur at your job's best day. That's a high bar to set for yourself, because an amateur's best day might be pretty damn good. Your worst day should be better than their best. That's how it is. When you're a true pro at what you do, you mastered this concept that I call the third day. How to show up and give your best effort when you least feel like it. The decision that separates the pros from the amateurs. You haven't got my book, The Third Day, yet? Go to thirddaybook.com. We'll give you the book for free. Just cover the shipping. The third day is all about, once you master the third day, the days when you feel like shit, your performance is better than that of the amateur on the days when they feel amazing. That's what makes you great. I went to the gym this morning, indoor gym this morning to work out. And when I walked in, wasn't that a lot of people in the gym. There's often a bunch of trainers in there training with their clients, a bunch of regulars in there working out, and I would say about 30% of the normal crowd was in the gym. Now, I happen to be recording this on a Friday, and I don't know where everybody is. It's not a holiday. I don't think it's a holiday weekend, but wasn't a lot of people in the gym. By the time I left, there was a few more people there, but wasn't a lot of people in the gym on this particular day. I don't know why there weren't a lot of people in the gym on this particular day, but there really were not. I don't know why. Point being, as a high-level professional, even the days when you don't feel amazing, you show up and deliver in a way the amateur couldn't, even if they felt stupendous. All right, so this is a high bar to set for yourself. I admit this is a high bar. That's the reason why you're a professional. That's why there are so few professionals in every space. True professionals. There are people with the name title, with the job title and the parking spot and the business card. I'm talking about true professionals. Not everyone is willing nor able to set and live up to the type of standards that I'm describing here, which is why when people like you and I are so few and far between, our value increases because of the scarcity of people like us. Scarcity raises value. And when something is abundantly available, the value goes down. This is the reason why amateurs are not valuable. This is the reason why amateurs usually don't get paid for what they do, because they're very easily to be replaced, very easily replaced. They are fungible. It's the reason why the US dollar, if you just hold on to your money, is becoming less and less valuable, because the Federal Reserve Bank keeps printing more money. And again, the Federal Reserve Bank is not federal. There are no reserves, and it's not actually a bank. But they keep putting more money into circulation. Therefore, the money that you have is worth less. It buys less today than it did yesterday, metaphorically speaking, but literally over years, that is absolutely true. Why? Because there's so much of it available. Now, if there was less of it available, i.e. if it was on a gold standard like it used to be, then a dollar would be worth a lot more than it is right now. And it's the same thing with amateurs. All right, if there were fewer amateurs, they'd be more available. But everybody's an amateur. Most people are amateurs at everything that they do. Making yourself a professional is a decision, and it's not easy to get there. But once you get there, the ROI is so high on being a true professional that you are willing to pay the price to stay there, because you know what it felt like to not be there. The professionals get paid the big bucks because they do what most people cannot and won't even try to do. Good news about doing this is that few others can or will, and the rewards, as I just said, they are outsized compared to what everybody else gets. And that's the position you want to be in. You want the outsized rewards compared to what everybody else gets. You could be 10% better, but you get 10 times the rewards. So it's not an equal deal. And that's the key. So it's a basic value proposition for you. You decide if the juice is worth the proverbial squeeze. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is the standards of a professional. Number 2, in your line of work, you are never caught off guard or caught by surprise. That never happens in your line of work. Number 1 hallmark of a professional is preparation, meaning you know what's going to happen before it happens, and anything that does happen, you know how to deal with it. Most of what happens, you know it was going to happen before it occurred, and if something happens that maybe you didn't predict it, you still know how to handle it, and you still deal with it swiftly and smoothly. A professional has seen everything that there is to be seen in their particular space. That's what makes them a professional. And nothing that you throw at a professional in their particular line of work will catch them off guard. They've pretty much seen it all. Anything you show them, they have an answer. Any problem you show them, they can solve it. Any question you ask, there's an answer. Think about the maintenance man or the building superintendent at a place that you live or have lived. No matter what goes wrong in the building, they've probably seen it before, and they will come back with a solution. No matter what it is, they can solve it. That's an expert. That's what an expert looks like. That's what a professional looks like. In the sports world, the highly experienced athlete will have opponents feeling as if they are reading your mind by the end of the competition. I've heard people say this about boxer Floyd Mayweather. When you're in the ring with him, it almost gets to the point where it feels like he knows what you're going to do before you do it, and then he just hits you. And you didn't even see the punch coming, but he keeps hitting you before you get to do something. And by the end of the fight, you don't even want to throw a punch, because you know every time you think about throwing a punch, he hits you. So you decide to stop thinking about it, and you're not throwing any punches, and then you lose the fight. And it's an example of a professional who's seen everything. The more things you see, the easier it is to predict the behavior of your opponent and find ways to beat them every single time. It's kind of like they give the example of the guy who was a combat wrestler. He was teaching his opponents, all the different moves to use to beat your opponent, and he taught his student, the wrestling trainer taught his student 350 moves on how to beat your opponent. And he finally gets in the ring and he spars with his student, and the student is all cocky thinking he can beat the trainer because he knows all the moves. but the trainer didn't show him move number 351. And then the trainer beats the student with move number 351. Say, hey, I didn't teach you everything. Point is, the professional has something for everything. Anything you throw at a professional, they have an answer. As a professional yourself, you have seen every possible thing that an opponent can throw at you. You can predict the behavior of your opponents almost many times before they even do it. And you want to continue to get experience under your belt as long as you stay a pro and keep doing your homework, because you're going to have this effect on your peers, your opponents, and your observers, where they are just marveling at what you're doing as if it is, because it appears, quote unquote, natural, as if you were born with this ability, when that is absolutely not the case. What it is just you have a lot of experience, you've done a lot of homework. So what has been a whole lot of painstaking work and preparation for you feels and looks like just natural talent and natural ability to everybody else. And people tend to look up to and honor those who seem to do things and make it look and feel easy as if it is natural, when oftentimes it's not natural at all. When I played basketball, by the time I got to college, I would have people saying that what I did looked like a natural talent that I just had, but what they didn't know is what I looked like as a basketball player 10 years before that, which was nothing like what I looked like in college. Those things were not natural. It was after years of work and effort and training and working on my game that it started to look and feel like it was natural, when it absolutely was not. This is a whole lot of practice. The proverbial 10,000 hours of work done in the dark. Now, when you come into the light, everybody thinks you were born with it. No, you weren't. No, I wasn't. No, he wasn't. As a speaker, a public speaker, whether you talk on this microphone or stand on the stage or doing live streams on the internet or whatever it is that I do, people hear me speaking. They say, man, you're like a natural. You just have this natural talent for speaking. And I do believe I have some talent for speaking, but not that much. I have the proverbial 10,000 hours. And in both basketball and in speaking, I have a proverbial, it's not 10,000, it's more closer to 30,000 hours I have in both of these. So while it looks like some natural, quote unquote, skill to the outside observer, if you knew what it took to make this look natural, you wouldn't call it natural. But I don't spend too much time trying to tell you that it's not natural, because actually, as a matter of fact, people tend to admire it more when it seems like you didn't even try. Again, I told you all this when we talked about being a professional. I did an episode on what is expected of you when you have professional. Let me see if I can find that episode. That was episode number 931. What is expected of you when professional is next to your name? And one of those things in episode 931 is that the job is not easy, but you make it look easy, you make it feel easy. When people watch you do what you do as a professional, they should feel like it was easy for you. Even if it wasn't easy for you to develop the ability to make it look easy, it still feels easy it feels like it was easy watching you, but you know it wasn't easy. And that's part of being a professional. That's part of the showmanship of being a professional, is that it looks like it's easy, even though it's really not. You watch a Michael Jordan or LeBron James play and they do these amazing things. And you're like, wow, this player is so talented. It's just so naturally gifted. And people honor that because, I mean, you can't work your way to natural gifts. Either you got it or you don't. When the reality is, yes, there are some gifts that all of these people who you call talented have started with. But had they not done the work to make it look easy, then you wouldn't know who they are. You wouldn't know their names. Had I not done the proverbial 30,000 hours, that's not proverbial, had I not done 30,000 hours of speaking, then I wouldn't be able to get on this mic and talk the way that I do. And you say, damn, this guy, words just roll off of you when you're talking. Yes, because I have 30,000 hours of doing it. That's why. I didn't just I didn't come out of the womb talking like this. Absolutely not. And when you're a pro, you make it look easy. I remember I was playing basketball. I was in Germany, and this agent was watching me play at a team's practice that he took me to. He said he wasn't impressed with my performance, and he gave me an explanation. He said, I thought I played well at the practice. He said, I wasn't impressed with your performance because it looked like you were trying too hard to succeed. And not succeed, like giving effort. What he meant was when you scored on that player, you had to do too many moves to score on him. And the expectation of someone like you, Dre, as an American player in this country, is that you should be able to score on a player really easily and make it look easy. But if you score on a guy and it looks like you had to try kind of hard to score on him, then it's not as impressive, even though the outcome was exactly the same, the ball going in the basket. He didn't say that part. I'm saying that part. And I said, okay, that was the first time I heard anyone explain it that way, but I got it. He was the one who knew the market better than I did, so I accepted what he told me. I said, oh, I got to make it look easy. Okay, I can't just score. I got to make it look easy when I score. Okay, interesting. And you'll have this effect on your peers, opponents, and observers when you put the work in when they're not watching. So when they are watching, again, it looks like, oh, he just pushed the button and it just happened. Number 3, today's topic, once again, is the expectations and the standards of a professional. Number 3 is that you solve all the problems, and you always solve the problems. Speaking of basketball, I was in Croatia. This is around 2012-ish. And I remember I was talking to a professional coach over there. He wasn't my coach, but I asked him this question because he had a team that would hire an American player every year. So I just asked him this question. I said, when you're looking to hire an American player on the team, what do you look for? Now, let me help all of you who have not played professional basketball overseas with some context here. In professional basketball overseas, usually it's often the case that a team will only have, if any, they'll only have one American player on the team. And over there, an American is an import, known as an import player. And the reason why is several reasons why. Number 1, to bring in an import player to your team in other countries, often you have to pay some type of licensing fee. You may have to pay for a visa, and you may have to pay just an extra fee to the league itself to have the privilege of bringing in an American player. So a team has to invest more money to bring in an American import than it is to bring in a bunch of local guys from the country that you're playing in. So if you're in Croatia, it's much cheaper to bring in a bunch of Croatian guys to the team than it is to bring one American from Ohio to be on your team. Secondly, you got to pay for that person to actually come over there. You got to pay for their flight. You got to pay for their hotel. You have to pay anything that has to do with traveling to that country, like the national rules on traveling to that country, governmental rules, not to mention the league rules. And you got to pay for their housing, and you got to pay for their food, and somehow you got to make some accommodations for this person because they probably don't speak the local language. So all of these things you have to pay for to bring that player in. Also, depending on what league you are playing in, many leagues just have rules on how many import players you are allowed to have on your roster. Because if they just said as many as you can afford, then teams that have a whole lot of money could create an unfair advantage by having 5 Americans on their roster, while the team with no money can't have any. And the idea is that an American player that is brought from the United States to an overseas team is supposed to be more talented than the local players from the local country. Or we are still looked at as the gold standard of basketball players. So when an American player goes overseas, you are expected to be pretty much better than everybody else on the team that you're joining. That's the expectation. So the more of them you have, the better your team is supposed to be, allegedly. So this is why I was asking him the question, because a lot of American players, I knew at this time, were trying to come play overseas, but they had not yet gotten their shot. I wrote a whole book about this called The Overseas Basketball Blueprint. If you would like a copy, go to balloverseas.com. I'll give you a copy for free. Just cover the shipping. So when I asked him this question, the answer he gave, the immediate answer this coach gave me was, Dre, the player we sign has to solve the problems. That's what he said. He has to solve the problems. And what does that mean? Well, let's talk about what that means. He said, we want a player who can pretty much do everything we need that player to do. We need the team needs on the court. Let me say that again. The player that we sign needs to be a player who can do everything that the team needs on the court. So anything that the team is not able to do, any problem that our current roster does not solve. Let's say we got 11 guys on the roster. Every problem that we still have despite having these 11 guys, the one American we sign must plug every remaining gap. So let's say we have 5 remaining gaps. We need someone who can dribble really well. We need someone who can shoot 3-pointers. We need an athletic guy who can score at the rim. We need a really good defender who can guard the best player on the other team. And we need a vocal leader who will keep everybody motivated and engaged in the game. The one American we sign better have all 5 of these skills. That's what I mean by solving all the problems. And he went on to basically explain that. I asked him a couple more questions and he explained it out. That's what they're looking for. And any of you who's looking to play professional basketball overseas, good news, this answer has not changed. It's still the same answer. This is what they want. When they look to sign an American player, they're looking for a guy who can solve the problems. So whatever problem that team has, the good news for each of you is that not every team has the same problems. Some teams only have 1 problem. Some teams got 3 problems. Some teams have 10 problems. If they sign you, you are solving a specific problem that they have. Teams would often look for one guy who could do a whole lot of things at a high level to where, again, the main problems of the roster are now solved. And if you are not a player who could do so, you would not be on the radar of that particular team. Or if they thought you were and then you came over there and you turned out to not be, they would send you right back home where you came from. It's a cutthroat business. That's the way it worked. And although I'm referencing one coach who told me this, he ain't the only one who told me this. A lot of coaches told me that. That agent that I told you about that told me he wasn't impressed with my practice performance, he was a guy who said, okay, I've looked at your game, Dre. I got a feeling for what you can do. Now I know which teams I should shop you around to based on what you can do. So I know I'm sending you to a team that needs what you offer. I'm not going to put you in position to put you in front of a team that doesn't need what you offer, because otherwise they don't need you. All right, this is part of the game. This is the first law of economics, ladies and gentlemen, is what? Supply and demand. So when there's a demand for something, there will be someone who supplies. And if there are very few supplies for that demand, then the value of that supply goes up. You understand? This is the way it works. I remember when I was at an exposure camp very early in my career, and I saw a coach. I was at the exposure camp and I saw a coach from an international team, and I just asked him the question, well, what are you looking for? I'm sure every player at the camp who talked to him asked him the same question. He said, I'm looking for somebody who can do everything. And that's what he said. Same thing this coach told me more articulately. This guy said the same thing. He said, we need a guy who can do everything. That's what we're looking for. A guy who can pretty much do everything. And in your line of work, this is who you need to be. All of you listen to this, even if you don't play basketball, which most of you don't. You need to be the person who can solve the problem of your customers and clients. Solve their problem, they'll pay you. This is how it works. The same way that you as a consumer, you have a problem and somebody solves it, you'll pay. Yesterday, I was taking my son to the park and I was hungry. So I stopped at a Chick-fil-A and I bought some Chick-fil-A fries, and I like their waffle fries, and some chicken nuggets. And I paid $8.60 for it. Why did I pay $8.60 for some chicken nuggets and some fries? Because they solved my problem. I was hungry and they had food. They solved the problem. So I was willing to pay. Y'all understand? The better you demonstrate your ability to solve the problem, the better you will do in your business, and the more satisfied people you have in your world, especially if you actually solve the problem. Now, if you sell that you can solve it, then you don't solve it, then you have a bunch of angry people. So sell what you can actually deliver on. Someone who can solve the problems. Everyone's looking for this. Every human on the planet has problems. Every business in the world has problems. If you can solve the problems, then they'll want you. I was talking to one of our university members, Jen, who is I know she's listening to the show. Don't know if she's listening right now, but she can tell me if she heard this. But she is in finance. She's an accountant. And I was saying, well, I was asking her a general question. Well, which types of businesses would have the type of problems that you can solve? And she said, all of them. If they have a business, they got an accounting problem. And she knows how to solve those problems because she knows which problems they don't even know they have. So her job will be letting them know they have the problems and that she can solve them, and they'll be willing to pay for it. That's the way it works in all of business, ladies and gentlemen, no matter what field: accounting, basketball, ice cream, and everywhere in between. So let's recap today's class, which is the standards of a professional. Again, I was thinking about this as I was thinking about the beautiful temperature in South Florida, which again may not be what all of you like. Some of you don't like hot and muggy weather. I do. But you get the point that I'm drawing here, which is point number one. Your low is higher than everybody else's high. When you're a professional, your worst day is better than the amateur's best day. Number two, in your line of work, you're never caught off guard or by surprise. You've pretty much seen everything there is to see in the space, and you can basically answer any question that could be asked. Number three, you always solve the problems. As a basketball coach told me around 2012 that they look for a player who can solve the problems if they can only pick one. I've had more than one coach tell me this, more than one person say this exact same thing in the basketball space, and I want you all to understand this applies in your space as well. The better you can solve another person's problems, the more likely they are to work with you and keep you around, especially if you deliver on what you claimed that you could do. All that said, folks, those of you who are true professionals, you want to make sure you're solving as many problems for as many people as possible so you can give them everything they want and then in turn get everything you want. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com, have me as your direct coach, and let's get to work on making it happen. Work on your game. Dre all